Take us back to maybe at the All-Star break. Felt like the Grizzlies were trying to replace Dillon Brooks without officially announcing that they were trying to trade for somebody else. Is that true?
Yeah, and I think there was actually some frustration there. It is not often that you hear a general manager come out and say, "Hey, we tried." We gave our best effort. We offered deals that we thought were above and beyond what anybody else would offer, and it just didn't work out. Nobody would take any of them. But that's essentially what the Memphis Grizzlies did. They were rumored in deals for OG Anunoby. They were rumored in deals for Mikal Bridges, offering as many as 4 draft picks for him, 3 first-round draft picks for OG Anunoby. People thought the deals were kind of ridiculous that Memphis was offering a lot. Neither team takes it. And I think you heard General Manager Zach Kleiman. He obviously didn't speak on any of the specifics of any of the rumored deals, but he did come out and say, we were really ultra aggressive at this deadline and we just couldn't get a deal to go through. And they've been trying to make an upgrade at that wing position for a while now, and they haven't really made it much of a secret.
How did it go over locally when you had Shams say, quoting, that Dillon was not going to be back under any circumstances here?
I think people here were ready to move on from Dillon Brooks. Now, Dillon certainly has his fans here, and he's the longest tenured Grizzly coming into this season. He's one of just 2 holdovers from the Marc Gasol, Mike Conley era. So that had made him a liked figure here in Memphis. But the way that the last 2 playoffs have gone, particularly the series against Golden State, now the series against the Lakers, it really soured people here, I think, a good bit. And so for Dillon, I think it's just better for both sides to move on. And you could sort of hear and feel that disconnect as this series sort of continued, and it became more and more frustrating for him.
But Drew, are we looking at the end result here? If Memphis wins that series against the Lakers, are the Memphis fans still okay with Dillon Brooks? Is management okay with Dillon Brooks?
I think that's a good question, and that's a fair question. But I think that management still this summer is going out and looking for a way to upgrade on the wing. Dillon Brooks is not an efficient shooter. He doesn't exactly fit what they need to do with their core of 3 players moving forward. He's a good defender. He gets a lot of credit for the defense that he plays. He did not play great defense in that series against the Lakers. The Grizzlies found out that Xavier Tillman was better on LeBron James than Dillon Brooks was. So if the Grizzlies are solving problems and throwing Dillon Brooks out of the equation, then moving forward, it's not that difficult to throw Dillon Brooks out of the equation.
I wonder when he embraced this sort of Draymond Green light that I'm getting coverage now. When you're scoring 18, you're a nice player. You're never going to be the focal point of that team. But it's almost like he'd rather average 14 and be a villain or tough guy or instigator, and then it kind of blew up in his face.
This is really flipped. 2 years ago, I was in Utah. It was COVID year. And so we were doing phone interviews back then. And this was right when the Dillon the Villain nickname was starting to take off. And I asked him over the phone if he liked the Dillon the Villain nickname. Now, this is a nickname that dates back to when he was in college at Oregon. So it's been around. But it really picked up at that time when fans were booing the heck out of him in Utah. And he was not sold on the Dillon the Villain nickname.
Okay.
He said he somewhat liked the Dillon the Villain nickname, but he didn't see himself as a villain. That's 2 years ago. Now he's completely leaned into this villain image, this villain sort of narrative that's around him. And it's obvious that he's leaning into it because of the antics on the court. This is a guy that's going after Theo Pinson for standing up on the bench. Theo Pinson, a guy who's not even playing in the game for the Dallas Mavericks, and getting a technical foul that ends up with Dillon being suspended for another game. Like, this is a guy that has not really seemed to care what other people think of him and has really leaned into this whole image thing, and did what he did with LeBron James. And so this has been a change over 2 years for Dillon Brooks. I think some of it has been frustrating for the Grizzlies and the Grizzlies front office. And some of it is stuff that you want, You want to have a player that will do those sort of things and will be your heart and soul and will be the guy that'll go to battle against the other team's best player every single night. And some of it becomes too much. And I think at some point for Dillon, it just became too much.